What? Is that?
Everybody's made of sugar today. That is one problem.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out on this very unpleasant day. I'm sure some of you, like me, will want to get back and start bailing out your basements. Welcome to Nova Scotia, John. So, sorry. First thing I'm going to say is turn off your cell phones. Oh. I didn't just start. Okay. All right, that's okay. I'll just use him. We've got some here. We'll talk soon. I'll keep you up to date. Sorry about that. Yeah, let's get started. We have a quorum, so we will be able to hold a legitimate vote. So I'd like to start off by again welcoming you here. I've got two presentations to do. One on the operational plan that we've been working on for some time, and the second is our strategic plan, which will take us farther into the future over the next 5 years. It's about 37 slides. There's an email presentation and some other stuff. So hopefully we'll get you home before dark.
I don't know. Just smile. Well. Who's the other one?
There we go. I've had some computer glitches the last 24 hours, so there might be a few hiccups along the way, but we'll try and catch up as best we can. We will be videotaping this, and it'll be available online on our YouTube channel, probably sometime early to midweek, but don't hold us to that. Joe and Katie have a lot on their plates these days, so they'll do it as quickly as possible, but it will be there, both presentations. So what I'll start off with is the initial purpose of this meeting. Here we go. Is to amend our year end. And this is just to bring it into line with our current bylaws. Many of you know that we've had some issues over the last 6 months establishing the correct bylaws and making sure that we're compliant with them in every possible way. We had permission from CRA late last year to use December 31st as the year end. So all we're doing now is bringing our bylaws into compliance with that, according to Article 12 of the Society's bylaw. So what I would ask, if a member would kindly make a motion, as the chair I can't make that motion, if a member could make a motion to move that our fiscal year end of the Society be moved from March 31st to December 31st. Anybody? Okay, thank you. Craig Harding?
Yes.
And a seconder?
I'll second it, John.
Okay, Sue, thank you. Any questions or discussion on that? The reason that we're doing that, and I'll get back to you, Kevin. Administratively, it makes a lot of sense for Katie, who does most of our books, prepares them for audit preparation, and we're working on a calendar year for the most part with our programming. Our contracts with various suppliers are calendar year. So rather than having to prorate everything on an as-you-go basis, it's far easier for Katie to just work on a year-end, December 31st year-end. Kevin?
Yeah, just a quick question, John. Kevin Cowell, member. Is there any advantage, given the federal, provincial, and local grants, is there any advantage to having it in March 31st rather than December 31st, or does end of fiscal have no impact on grants?
I don't think it has any impact. I mean, obviously we'll look at that as we follow up with grants. That's going to be a big feature of what we do moving forward, trying to get as much money as we can. But I think the key with grants is doing them compliant with the deadlines that they impose, providing the reporting periods. And if our reporting period would be on an annual basis, fine. If they want a reporting period based on the grant date, then we can do that as well. So
Okay.
it doesn't impact us, I don't think, as far as our bookkeeping is concerned.
Okay, thanks.
Yes?
I'm just wondering about any kind of, is the microphone on?
Probably, yeah.
Check it.
Roger said.
Oh, okay, it will be on in 10 seconds.
We can hear you say.
Yeah, Roger Savage, Mersey Point.
Yes,
I'm
Roger.
just wondering, any kind of nonprofit organizations I've been involved with have always had their fiscal year coordinated with the government's year end, which is the end of March, basically because of funding requests and everything. And won't that, do you know of any other, the Annapolis Royal or any other art societies that have calendar year ends?
We did look into it. We didn't do a deep dive, and obviously as we look at each grant, we will consider that. Katie is our esteemed bookkeeper and is familiar with some of those other theaters as well. Katie, what do you say?
So Kings and Chester Playhouse both December 31st. And I've dealt with, so Kings and Chester Playhouse both have a December year end. And it does not have an impact on funding applications because this is what we dealt with this year. We've already changed it with the CRA and it's very easy to make those changes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, for those that didn't hear, we consider our peer group in the province, or among our peer group, to be King's Theatre and the Chester Playhouse. Similar size, similar concept, similar operations. And both of them are on a December 31st year end, and it hasn't impacted there at all. So, but a good question, Roger. Thank you.
I just want to follow up because I've also been involved with, this is too high for me, my name is Jan Potty. I've also, like Roger, been involved with many nonprofit arts organizations and specifically theater organizations, and their fiscal year is never the calendar year. And it always does align with grants. And has anybody done the research on when Canada Council grants are due or applications for awards? Is King's, and I also want to point out that this is an arts and culture center. It's unlike King's and Chester Playhouse. It's not simply a theater. And this you have to start thinking like this.
That's a good point, Jen. We'll get to that
And my
later.
concern about a calendar year, switching an AGM to January, is the alienation of membership. And this is an important time of year for the AGM. This is when you elect board members, when you elect a director. Where are those board members going to come from if everybody's in Florida?
Understood. Understood. The AGM would in fact be at the end of March, based on a December 31st year end. And we are investigating, and in all likelihood, we'll be able to hold our AGM virtually through Zoom. So people will be able to interact, they will get the information, and they will be able to vote by Zoom. So that doesn't impact too many people, and I understand your position, Jan, that people that are away, the snowbirds need to be looked after as well. Unfortunately, the same might apply to people who are cottagers and don't come here until after June 28th, which is when our March 31st year end would be. So there's no perfect date. We just have to pick one and live with it and make it work.
I'm sorry, I just really am having trouble with this because when I heard about this, my first thought was it really diminishes the power of the members. And I wonder, it makes me suspicious that that's actually the intent given the past year. But it also squanders all of the interest generated at the June meeting last year, when so many members of the community turned out. And I think it's really important to build on that interest and not to be threatened by it.
That's why we're here today. And I agree, it's the will of the members. We will be holding a vote right now. Let's see what the members say. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion that's on the floor. We have a seconder. Can I have a vote? Those in favor, hold up your blue cards. Now, I can't see them, so Katie, can you do the counting, and Joe?
Yep.
Each take a side maybe, and then,
Well,
Yeah. Well,
12 in favor, out of 16 members present. Opposed? 3. So there's one who's not voting. We need a majority of 75% of present members in order to carry the vote. We have that, 12 out of 16, so the motion is carried. Thank you. So we've had some changes to the board of directors recently, so I just thought it'd be useful to give you an updated list of the board. We're back to 8, and we will be moving forward and carrying on. Anybody who wants to be nominated and wants to step forward, we would be happy to consider those nominations. We do have a couple of spots that we can fill strictly at the board level to replace existing resignations. Anything in addition to that would have to be based on a member vote at the next AGM. So our agenda for today, and I hope to have copies at the registration desk, but I guess not. First of all, I wanted to say I thank the members for coming. I'd also like to thank our Chief Administration Officer for Queen's Region, Cody Jodry, who's sitting in the back there. So thank you, Cody, for coming.
that's right.
So today we'll start off with the organization plan. A number of items were identified at the AGM, and happy to say that some of them are either completed or are ongoing and under control. We will allow for questions at various stages, but if you could sort of hold your questions until the end of each of these sections, that might be a little faster. Okay, so we talked a lot about what kind of organization would be best suited to carry us forward as we go forward. We've had a difficult time over the last 18 months in finding and retaining a strong, competent executive director. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we don't need to go into them at this point. Suffice it to say that the process of finding a full-fledged executive director is a 3 to 6 month process to send out the offers, to identify the candidates, to interview them, to discuss the best ones, and to have them start. At this point, I will be perfectly honest with you, nobody on the board is willing to undertake that process right now. We're burned out. We've had enough of this. So we're looking on a temporary or an interim basis to deal with an alternate structure to carry us through operationally that will also take care of our governance needs. And what we've set on, and again, I'll say that this is a moving target. We have our board of directors who will continue to provide overall supervision and governance. We have our operations, which is ably managed and has been for quite a while by Katie Hopkins. Our recent addition to the staff, technical director Joe Linden, is doing a marvelous job in picking up all of the technical maintenance and ongoing infrastructure needs of the theater. And we've recently hired, as you probably noticed, Cynthia Walker. She was on the board. She was one of the resignations so that she could apply for the job. And we're happy to say that we have been comfortable in giving it to her. And she's very enthusiastic and excited about doing it, and you'll see that as we go. Our support group is our custodial, our movie and concession staff, and our bar operations. On the business side, one of the things that we need in an executive director is somebody to take charge of the business elements. Fund development, media marketing, and community engagement. And I'll get into that in a little more detail as we go. So I'll just go over the job descriptions very briefly, and I would preface it by saying none of this is etched in stone. Job descriptions will ebb and flow between the three key staff members as they identify the strengths and weaknesses and the efficiencies that they can bring to the role. So operations manager basically will be that. Technical manager, the job description, lighting, sound coordination, day of show support, maintenance, etc., etc. All of this, by the way, will be available on our website once we get it live.
What is THACC?
Well, it's an interesting you would ask that, Roger. That stands for Town Hall Arts and Cultural Center, which is the historic name of those parts of the building that are not the theater. And we're looking at changing that naming. And I've got a couple of slides to deal with that at the end. Okay, box office manager, ticket sales, logistics, contacts, contract support, email and messaging, and all the nitty-gritty, the daily grind of meeting people, responding to requests, handling ticket sales, and so forth. Support group, our custodial, Diane Goodwin, and we don't get just Diane Goodwin, we get her whole family, because she very seldom is here alone. She brings her husband and sometimes her kids to help her. Movie and concession staff, they're on call, they're paid on an as-needed basis, and the bar and ushers are, for the most part, directors and volunteers who handle the bar during events. On the business side, the media, marketing, and community engagement, which are critical elements of what we do. These are things that we will have to suss out. We've got a couple of ladies that we've been talking to who have a wide range of experience in running these kinds of operations within the theater and museum and art environment. So we're hoping to use them on a volunteer and or a paid basis to make sure that we fill all the gaps that are needed to make this operation run as efficiently as it should. Key items obviously are creating and supervising an overall plan, managing social media, postering, which is just distributing posters around the community, radio interviews, print documents, graphic design, website, and marketing. These are all critical elements to sustain our operations. Without all of that combined, we would struggle greatly to make the revenue that we need to. Under fund development, we've got 5 buckets that we put that into under the direction of our director, Lynn Cochran, who was the phone call I received at the beginning of this. Unfortunately, she was unable to make it at the last minute. So donor management and outreach, sponsorship creation and management, endowment fund development, capital campaign stewardship, and grant sourcing and writing. Combined, they represent the sum total of everything that we get in this theater from a revenue point of view other than direct operations. Each one is important, each one requires a serious study and application by experts for the execution, so that we're actually going out there and doing that. There's a lot of untapped sources for revenue that we have, we've dabbled at some of them, we've been successful at some of them, and we've had some very great relations with some of our donors and sponsors. We need to expand that. So next, any questions on our operations at this point? Okay, good. Moving right along. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is the fund developer, is that a paid position, or is Lynn doing this as part of her board duties?
Her involvement is as a volunteer as part of her board duties.
So it's not a paid position?
It's not, none of the board members are paid.
Right, but you're putting it, I just wanted to be clear about what are the paid positions that you have out.
They're to be developed. There are resources out there. There's one individual in particular that we've talked to who has a lot of experience. We'd like her to volunteer her time, but if it's worth paying, as we've done in the past, for certain things, then we'd be quite happy to continue to do that, as long as we get the value back. And in those kinds of situations, in fund development, the returns are multiples of what you pay to get them. And if not, then you need to chart a new course. Any other questions? Yep. Yes, Sue.
I have a question regarding the board makeup. The Windsor Change has an had an ex officio spot on the board. Do we still have that, please? Yes or no?
I can't answer that right now. I mean, that's got to be a board decision on the Astor board's part. I certainly have no objection to it. And I think in the spirit of rapprochement, if I can use such a gaudy term, I would love to see that happen. So what I would suggest, if Annette or whoever you want on your board to just approach us, drop us a line, I'll bring it up with the board, and I'm sure it would go through a lickety-split.
Thank you.
Okay?
It's there, it should have it.
Okay, our strategic plan. We started in early 2023, I guess, to formalize a revised strategic plan based on the previous one that was created 5 years previous, which was a very good strategic plan. It just wasn't executed particularly well. We were just coming out of COVID, obviously. We had changes in board members at the time. We had changes in staff through 2023. So it took some time to get it finalized and tweaked. We finally at that point now where it has been submitted to the board and approved by the board. And these are basically the results of it. Whoops. I'll be right with you. I've had some computer issues the last... There we go. Okay, we're back on track. So, the 2024-29 strategic plan, it follows along the template of many similar strategic plans for like organizations. These are the table of contents of this plan, and again, it's quite a lengthy document with a lot of detail added into it. I would encourage you to pick up a copy or download a copy, save some trees, once we have it loaded into our website, which, as I say, will be fairly shortly. So the table of contents will be basically an overview, vision and mission, values, strategic goals, and the strategic goals each have some action items attached to them, and I'll go through them very, very quickly. And then we'll get to the conclusion, and the Astor Academy is something that I've transferred from this slide over to the remainder of the operations slide, so I'll get back to that separately. So, overview. Sorry, I'm having difficulty reading from the side. The Astor is dedicated to maintaining its status. I'll get there. As the entertainment jewel of Queens County, continuously enriching the cultural landscape of the South Shore of Nova Scotia and supporting the development of future generations of artists. This is not unlike anything that we've displayed in the past as being our primary goal, and everything is subordinated to that basic concept. Our vision and mission, again, not drastically changed from previous ones or from other similar organizations. I'll let you read that at your leisure. Have a focus issue? Yeah, Joe, can you come and take a look at this? We had it set up before, but these things are good. This is a new projector, by the way, cost of $4,000, which was donated by a member, and it's for use for presentations such as this. I understand that Winds of Change no longer need it in their offerings, but it's there for this kind of thing. But again, it's a technical piece of equipment. And Joe's career is in the balance here.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Maybe if you move it a little closer, it may focus.
This is why we don't want to use it.
There you go.
That's much better.
Oh, do hand pumps. That'd be nice, huh? Was that you or Craig that made that sound? That was Craig that made that sound. I suggested hand pump.
So while he's doing that, I'll just read it off my screen. And again, you can get your copies and study it at your leisure. The vision is to be the premier cultural and entertainment hub of the South Shore and beyond by providing a platform to foster the next generation of young artists and by providing an inspirational space for our broader community through offering unique, diverse, and inclusive programming to deliver exceptional cultural, educational, and entertainment experiences that inspire and engage every individual, develop talent, and ensure a welcoming space for all. And by the way, when we look at this, we think not only of the theater, but we think also of the Arts Center, the Cultural Center, as we get into it. Our values, straightforward, artistic excellence, community engagement, youth empowerment, diversity and inclusion, sustainability, accessibility, and educational opportunities. So the various goals, I'm not going to go through them in any great detail. I'll just mention the objective. Goal number 1, foster a culture of giving, supported by a multi-level, multi-year development strategy and program plan to ensure the Astor's long-term financial stability and growth. If we don't make money to keep the doors open, then we're just wasting our time. So that's got to be at the core of everything that we do. And strategic goal number 2, upgrade and maintain the Astor's infrastructure to ensure sustainability and accessibility. Goal number 3, marketing communications, develop a robust and content-rich marketing communications program that raises the Astor's profile, inspires interaction, and increases reach through targeted creative campaigns, media, and public relations, strategic relations, and consistent branding. Strategic goal number 4, objective programming. Offer diverse, inclusive, and engaging programming that appeals to a wide audience, including performances, exhibits, and cinema. The implementation plan, we've got action plans through first year, 2024, years 2 and 3, years 4 and 5, with the last year being to evaluate and refine things moving on. Strategic plan, as I mentioned earlier, is of no value unless it's properly executed, and that requires the commitment of the board to ensure that each of these elements are in fact done, and the staff to support that in every way that they can. And we have the team to do that, so we'll just see how it goes. Sorry? No, it's telling me it doesn't want to do this one. There we go. Okay, so the strategic plan is designed to set a clear path towards financial stability, enhanced infrastructure, broad accessibility, strong marketing, diverse programming, and robust staff support. By achieving these goals, the Astor will continue to be a cherished cultural landmark in Queens County and the South Shore of Nova Scotia. How's that one for a... Get through the other steps again. Okay, one of the things that we committed to, and we've been working on for some time, is to create and implement an Astor Board Code of Conduct. We have done that. It's been signed by, I don't know, 3/4 of the board members. The only other ones that haven't signed because they haven't been around, but we will get those signed very quickly. Again, the Code of Conduct is available for review. You can make an appointment in the office and they will give you a copy to read, or you can take one home with you. I'm working off a very small screen here, so I apologize. Okay, we committed to completing our budget. We've been working off a budget all along, but as you know, budgets change. And there's been a lot of circumstances, notwithstanding COVID and the issues that came out of COVID from a financial point of view. So budgeting has been very difficult. 2023 was probably our first complete year that we were able to establish budget criteria, and 2024 will be a lot stronger than that as we move forward. Again, I have a copy. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to download it in time for this presentation. I will make copies available to you, and you can take them away with you and have a few questions then. Okay, website. This has been an old chestnut that we've been not fighting, but we've been trying to get established properly for the last literally 5 years since I've been on the board. COVID didn't help, but we now have a website that we're ready to go live with. How's that? Let me give you a brief review of what that looks like. Okay, the Astor Theatre's new website. We're ready to go live with it. Katie spent the last literally 3 weeks populating it, but you know, it's a moving target. Every day there's changes, so the key is to get it up to date 100%, and then it's a lot easier to keep up to date. So just going through the navigation period, in order to get to the home page, just click on the Astor Theatre, and that takes you to the various elements. Each of these, the first page will give you a synopsis of all the current and upcoming shows. By clicking on any one of those, it'll give you an idea of what that's all about. So you'll have a clear understanding of exactly what our programming and presentations will be for the next little while. And some of this goes into late 2025, certainly towards the end of June 2025. We have a calendar. So if you want to know what's happening in the theater, both here and in THAC, and I'm only going to use THAC as a term one more time, this gives you an idea, color-coded, as to what the arts are, what the events are, what the movies are, and what the programs are. So you can click on each of these, and it gives you an idea of what's happening. Okay, here's the fancy dance coming in from Lunenburg. Just moving over here, again, Maya Smith. So there's an awful lot of information here that previously you hadn't had available, or it was too difficult to find in navigating the old website. This is the new website, so please take note of the URL, astortheatre.ca. Simply that, all lowercase, no the, no com, no ns.ca, just simply astortheatre.ca. And we've got some stuff here. Some of the things that Katie hasn't been able to do yet is populate the staff page, getting the staff together for a picture taking. Similar to the boards, it's been difficult, so we will do that. Right now we're described digitally. And I'm not going to say who represents which side. So there's an awful lot here, and you can spend an interesting hour or two just dealing with the kinds of things that you need. I would suggest also, and the Wi-Fi here is a little weak, so there's a donate button on the home page. Takes you right to opportunities to donate online. You can do it one time, once a year, every month. Come in every couple of days if you want. And the other thing that I wanted to bring forward something that I've been pressing for some time, and we finally have it in, is we have here what's called the latest. That's a news feed. So anything that happens of note within the Astor Theater that members should know about, whether it's a new hire, a resignation, a specific event, a major donation, what have you, it will show up on that list in chronological order. So over a period of time, you'll be able to go back in history to see what happened a year ago, what happened 2 years ago. And that will give you an updated historical synopsis of what's been happening at the Astor. Any questions on the website? I guess we did a wonderful job.
That looks great.
Thank you.
What does that cost a year?
The website annually is not a significant cost just to buy the URL. I think you're talking, a small amount of dollars per month. The big cost is in setting it up, and that can be quite costly. And we have had some funding to allow us to do that through local providers with Greg Tuddy and his group. So it's been free to the Astor because somebody else was paying for it, which is what we really like to see. And the key here is that it's set up in such a way that our staff will be able to do the updates and modifications on an ongoing basis. So that makes it a lot easier for us, more timely. It adds more to their workload, but it's certainly more efficient to be able to do it that way. Okay, one of the things we talked about as a project that needed to be completed was our HVAC and infrastructure. Getting cooling in this particular room has been a nightmare. We've gone through grant applications, we've gone through various options. The board has been looking at it forever, since well before my time. I'm happy to say I think we're closing in on a more positive scenario where we hope with grant applications, there is another grant that we're applying for, that we understand we have strong support through Rick Perkins and his key contact in Ottawa, who's partly responsible for awarding these grants. And we're going to be working and have been working with the region to ensure that there's a smooth transition in responsibilities and accountabilities as to what's going on. It's a big project. If we do it right, as we would like, we can include things such as new windows and insulation, improve the lighting in here, and all those great things. But that's a big project. And as you all know, when you get a budget for a project like that and get funding for it, and it takes a year or 2 years to come to fruition, a lot of things can change. And understandably so, the region is concerned about that because if we don't get it done on time and on budget, according to the grants that we have, they want to make sure that they're not going to be the ones holding the bag at the end of the day. So we're very conscious of that, and we will work closely with Adam Grant and CAO, Cody Jodary, and the council to make sure that we're doing things in lockstep, in partnership, which is something that we've always been working towards. Anything you want to add to that, Cody?
No, I just hope you get the money.
Okay, there we go. Yes?
I wonder, do Could you, Roger Savage, raise a point? Could you explain the relationship between the Region of Queens and the physical building here and the Astor Theatre Society? What is it? Is it rented from Region? I don't understand the relationship.
The Region of Queens own the building. They've owned it forever, as far as I know. They had operated parts of it in the town hall for a number of years. When they moved out, then the town hall area became available for lease. So the Astor Theatre Society submitted a proposal to have a lease for that section. We already had a lease for the theater. We've recently combined the two leases. We now have a 10-year lease, which, oh boy. Can you turn that down a bit, Joe? Thank you. We now have a 10-year lease which combines all operations within this building, and the Astor Theatre Society is a tenant. We sign the lease, we're responsible for the obligations and commitments that a tenant normally does. We have some subsidies in terms of costing from the region, for which we're very appreciative. But to all intents and purposes, we run the interior of this building. It's a heritage building, so there are restrictions as what can be done to the exterior of the building, so that all has to be taken into consideration with Heritage Canada and with the region to make sure that it all complies with the rules and regulations as they apply from time to time. But we're very happy with the relationship right now. We've found it hasn't always been that way. I mean, we're very happy that, if I call Cody, he picks up the phone and talks to me. The council members are all very supportive of what the Astor represents. And that's important because they all grew up in this community. So they want this to be a huge success. But they've got their mandate in terms of fulfilling for their constituents from a fiduciary point of view and an operations point of view. So we're doing as much as we can independently and quite successfully, and we'll continue to do so. Does that answer your question, Roger?
When does the 10-year lease expire?
In 2033, 2034?
Sounds right. So
Yeah,
We
we just signed it this March, so, well, actually in June, from a March effective date, so it's 10 years from this year, so 10 years from now. So hang around, we'll have another meeting in 10 years and we'll talk about it. So that deals with HVAC. We're looking for improved lighting. All these lights here, they've been around forever, and they're very effective. They do a really good job, but they're getting old, and they need refurbishing. And there's a lot of things that need refurbishing. And one of the things you'll see on our website, which I should have probably opened that page, is a section that lists all of our equipment in detail within the theater, so that we know what needs to be updated, when it needs to be updated. And we're going to start targeting fundraising, sponsorship, and donation for some of those key items. Like this thing was $4,000. We had a very generous member who donated the funds to buy that. So if we can do that on a broader scale, it will ease our difficulties in doing ongoing updates. We're looking for installation of new windows. Accessibility projects are ongoing. We've got the ramp on the side, which is great. We're looking to have an elevator put in to the second floor and universal washrooms. But again, that's a budget issue, and that's something that the region controls, but they've been very supportive in coordinating those things with us. And there's some architectural and logistic issues of getting that elevator installed. It's a 125-year-old building, and it wasn't originally intended to have an elevator. So where's it going to go? How is it going to maintain safety standards are issues that the region will handle in due course. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the Astor Academy. The Astor Academy was the brainchild of Katie Hopkins and Jean Robinson and other members that they consulted with at the time back in, I would say, mid-2023. A lot of things were going on at that time, so It was put forward as a strong candidate for developing programming opportunities within the theater, for using the theater and other parts of the building to best advantage, rather than just waiting for people to come to us to put on a show. Primarily with a focus on youth, to give youth, because one of our mandates at the board level is that we want to provide as much programming, education, and entertainment that we can, cost-free to the youth. That's a major element of our vision and our thinking going forward. If we can do it for free, then we will do so. The same applies to non-profit organizations that come in and want to use one of our rooms, whether it's a knitting group or a seniors group. We're quite happy to donate that room and space and provide the services around it with our staff to make that work for them. And I think that's what we should be doing as a nonprofit society in Queens County. So as part of our strategic and operational planning, we'll be developing a variety of objectives for people in the theater. A number of potential programs have been suggested. I'm listing them in the next slide for the board and staff, along with community, volunteers, who can formalize these objectives and others over time, and will present them to the community. And that's one area, Sue, that I think it would be wonderful for Winds of Change to become a full partner in trying to help develop that and set the parameters for how it can best work. That can only be good for the community. Oops, I keep jumping ahead, sorry. So, we talked about this. This is a slide that I extracted from our strategic plan as it was presented, because I didn't feel it should be in the strategic plan the way it was presented. It needed some work. It needed some flesh put on the bones. So some of the opportunities that we think we can look at, as we see, I don't know if it's probably very fuzzy there, I apologize. The 5 options are artist in residence program, internships and apprenticeships, youth-led productions, partnerships with educational institutions, and workshops and master classes. So there are 5 areas that we can look at initially. There are others. Some of these might not apply, but certainly something to get us started. Okay, we're on the home stretch. 2 more slides. We're currently known, from a branding point of view, as the Astor Theatre and Town Hall Arts and Cultural Center. That's a mouthful. It's a little cumbersome. We've been using it. We've been using the acronym THAC, the Astor Theatre and THAC. Most people, as the question was asked today, what does THAC mean? It doesn't have a lot of relevance right now because it's a derivative from what the area was used before we took over, when it was Town Hall. Interestingly, people still come in to pay their taxes here. We'd like to take the money, but we will very quickly be discovered, so we send them over to the regional offices. So, it takes a long time for something to be institutionalized the way we would like. So we'd like to change the name. Not the name of the Astor Theatre Society. Our lease, our registration with the ministry, the Registry of Joint Stock Companies, is all in the name of Astor Theatre Society. That's our legal entity. Our lease is in that name, and most of our other contracts are in that name. But there are trading names that organizations use, and we've been using a number. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to talk to you about some options. There's 3 options here. And I'd like to get an idea. I mean, this is not stitched in stone. I don't think we need to go to a vote of the members, but we should certainly solicit a lot of member input in deciding what we should be thinking of ourselves as. We're also working with the region to make sure that they're comfortable with whatever we come up with. They don't